Another objection is that, but Leo, science is simply observation. That's all that science is. No, it's not. Not at all. You see, the trick is that all observational data can be ignored and denied and contested. That's the whole problem. For example, if I tell you that I saw a ghost, that's observational data. I saw a ghost. Are you going to admit that ghosts exist? Of course not. You're going to deny my data. You're going to say, oh, Leo, that was just hallucination. You're imagining stuff. It's just wishful thinking. You can't be trusted. Your observations don't count. Okay, so my observations don't count, but how come yours do? You see, the way that you define observation, the notion of observation is a completely relative notion. You and scientists as a community define observation according to their certain standards. Now, you might say, well, Leo, one person seeing a ghost isn't enough. We need scientists to actually measure the ghost. We need a bunch of scientists to see the ghost, and then we will admit the observation as legitimate. But see, again, there's nothing objective about that method. That's a subjective, relative method that you invented. That's a certain standard that you set. But that doesn't mean that the ghost needs to pass that rigorous standard. See, the standards you set, nature doesn't have to clear your standards. You have to adopt your standards to nature, not nature to your standards. This is a common problem that many scientifically minded people don't understand. And I mean, ghosts are said to be observed by thousands, hundreds of thousands of people even. But see, you're going to deny all that data. You're going to say, well, they're all deluded. Exactly. And you're going to always say that about anything that you don't want to admit into your paradigm of nature or reality, you see. Now you say, well, Leo, surely if they've seen ghosts, then they should be able to take pictures of it. Well, maybe, but see, if I show you a picture of a ghost, are you going to believe that? Of course not. You're going to say that's a fake picture. And you're going to say, well, yeah, Leo, because those people can't be trusted. You know, anyone can fake a ghost on Photoshop these days, so of course that doesn't constitute legitimate evidence. Well, but then how do you prove a ghost? How do I prove a ghost to you? By the way, I'm not saying that ghosts are real. I've never seen one. I'm just using this as an example because I know it triggers you guys, you scientists. I'm just trying to get you to really question, what would it take, how much evidence would it take for you to actually admit that ghosts exist? See, you never consider this question because you just assume ghosts don't exist. That's begging the question, of course. But consider for a moment that ghosts do exist, but the fact that your mind is too closed to understand this phenomenon called ghosts. See, part of the problem is that you assume all of reality is material. Therefore, when you hear about ghosts, you assume that, well, so the ghost must be material, so I should be able to take a photograph of it, or I should be able to grab it by the ankles and then drag it into a laboratory and dissect it. But maybe ghosts don't work that way. See, maybe ghost is a sort of phenomenon that you can't approach with your material, gross material methods. But then, of course, you say, well, but if I can't approach it with my gross material methods, then it isn't true. Again, begging the question. Because the question here is, are your methods themselves sufficient to account for all the phenomena of the universe, which, of course, we mentioned in part 1, they are not. You don't know that. See? You, of course, say, well, Leo, but this is a cop-out because, see, you're saying that ghosts exist, but then you're not giving us any method for proving that they actually exist. No, there are many methods to potentially prove that they exist. First of all, seeing one yourself. But see, even that you're not going to admit as legitimate evidence. But of course, if you did see a ghost yourself, please understand that if you actually saw a real ghost yourself, you would count that as legit evidence. You just don't count it from others. And hey, I get you. You're skeptical. I understand. We shouldn't just believe people who say that they saw ghosts. We want some, hard, tangible evidence. But all I'm trying to prove with this point is that what you call observation is completely relative. There is no such objective standard for what counts as observation. And this applies not just to ghosts, but to UFOs, to Bigfoot, to remote viewing, to psychedelics, to telekinesis, to mystical experiences. People have been talking about mystical experiences for thousands of years, for example. Do you, as a scientist, admit the validity of mystical experiences? Of course not. You think they're all nonsense. Why? Because of your methodological biases. How about psychedelics? Do you admit the validity of psychedelics? Do you admit that psychedelics can give you profound insights about the nature of science and reality? No, of course not. You completely dismiss that. Why? Because The scientific establishment that you're a part of has brainwashed you into believing that that is the case. Have you actually tried a psychedelic yourself? Nah, probably not. And if you did, maybe you were like a teenager or something, and you didn't seriously understand what you experienced. See, there are hundreds of thousands of UFO sightings, even many credible ones. See, you say, well, Leo, but people who talk about ghosts, those people, they're not credible. They're just bullshit artists and fraudsters. Oh yeah, well, what about UFOs? You'll also say the same thing about UFOs. You'll say, oh, they're also all bullshit artists and whatever. They're just doing it for money. But then how do you explain when a credible person comes forward with a UFO story? Like somebody from the U.S. Air Force or the Navy. We have plenty of examples like that. Reports, government reports, even. From various governments around the world. We even have video footage. But the problem with video footage of UFOs is that any video footage of UFO that you see, you're going to deny its validity, no matter how real it looks. Even if it is real, you're going to deny it. Why not? Because what you say is real in your mind, what counts as real is simply that which validates your existing worldview. In a sense, nothing outside of your limited worldview is considered real by you, unless it's like thrown into your face. Like if you're sleeping tonight and a UFO abducts you and anally rapes you, then you'll change your mind about UFOs. But until that happens to you, you're going to consider it unreal. I mean, that's just how your mind works. See? So all of this just goes to say that observation is not as simple as you think it is, because your mind, like I said before, has an infinite capacity to deny observation. You will always find a way to rationalize why some observation isn't a legitimate observation if that observation doesn't fit the confines of your worldview.